paying you to work. Your kids come home and you buy into it. The teacher don't like it. Well, that's all right. Just go on and do your work. You don't get out of school. So when you look at the physiological, when you look at the safe, when you look at the social need, the esteem, the self-actualization, all these needs, and guess what, comes into our life, and many of us struggle with the aspect of how do I get all of my needs met. Let me bring you closer. Guess what? And if you're sitting here thinking that the person next to you or the person you was with yesterday can give you everything you need, you are mistaken. Oh, I just ran up on something. That's why you are so humdrum. I mean, that's why you are so depressed. Because your needs are not being met. Because you're putting your trust in people. How can somebody supply your needs when they don't have everything that they need to have to give to you? Yeah. So Paul, what would you say? Yeah. Paul says, guess what? Yeah. Maybe I need to write a letter since I'm in prison. I'm in bondage, I'm locked up, and I am in captivity. Now, let's look at this thing. How in the world can you write a letter and you are bound, and here you are encouraging somebody else? Now, you would think that somebody ought to be writing a letter to him. Paul writes, matter of fact, he writes the letter and it starts off by saying something such as thank you. That's a good one. Thank you. And let me have some believers in here. If somebody does anything for you, will you at least say, come on, let me talk to you. If that man decide, if he decide to open the door, I didn't say he won't. I just said if he decide. And at least tell him thank you. Come on, me, y'all too quiet with me this morning. If she cooks some biscuits, you ought to at least say thank you. Y'all ain't talking. I got some kids in here that never tell their parents thank you. I got some folk in here. Your mother was a matriarch. She was a mighty good leader in your family. Sometimes you got to learn how to tell some folk thank you when you don't even feel like telling them thank you. I need to break this up this morning. Guess what? I don't care how mad you get. It's all right to say thank you. And sometimes, guess what? Don't nobody have to do nothing special for your heart. You all just say thank you for being who you are. Well, let me move on down the road. I can tell them I'm working your nerve already. Especially with that thank you thing, because so many of you babies never tell nobody thank you. I got folk that I hire and they never say thank you. I pay them more money than they ever made a day. Pay them $75,000, $80,000 a year, and the job head came and said thank you. You ought to at least say thank you sometime. help in the time of need. He goes further. He uses occasion to send along some instructions. He says, now, just because I'm telling you thank you, you also need to have some Christian unity. It's controlled, he is central, that thought is simple. He only wanted to tell them, only in Christ is real unity and joy possible. I mean, when you look at the entire book of Philippians was an interesting book. When you look at it, the focus of Philippians between chapter 1 and chapter 1 was the account of a circumstance. In chapter 2, he deals with the mind of Christ. In chapter 3, he deals with the knowledge of Christ. And in chapter 4, he deals with the peace of Christ. In chapter 1, it deals with a partaker of Christ. In chapter 2, it deals with the people of Christ. And chapter 3 deals with the pursuit of Christ. But he gets over to chapter 4 and deals with the power of Christ. Well, chapter 1 says, let's talk about suffering. Chapter 2 says you ought to be submissive. And chapter 3 says you ought to get saved. And chapter 4 says you ought to be sanctified. I got the wrong group to preach this kind of stuff. And so Philippians, anytime you look at Philippians, it's an interesting book. And in chapter 1, you ought to have some joy while you suffer. And in chapter 2, he says you ought to have some joy in serving. Then he get to chapter 3, he says you ought to really have some joy when you start believing. Then he messes us up when he get to chapter 4 and says if you start giving, you'll have some joy. Now the problem with many of us babies, guess what? We always want to receive, but we never want to give. I gotta get out of here. So I'm almost through. So he deals with this attitude and goals and the labor and the truth which Paul illustrates from his own life. And one of the Philippians needed to hear within his own rank and his fellow workers in the Philippian church. That here they are now at odds. And guess what? Here they're doing work for the Lord. And you got two extreme women that couldn't get along. Yeah. Somebody shout that's it. All right, thank you. And now I know you've been in the Bible at least once. That's what it dealt with. And women got quiet. And when I said, I ain't talking about you. Now, I don't know nothing about you. You know, if you're guilty, just say out you and move on. Let me deal with chapter 4. Watch this. He says, therefore, my brother, dearly beloved and longed for, he says, my joy and crown, so stand fast in the Lord. And dearly beloved, he says, I beseech Eunice and beseech Syntyche that they be of the same mind in the Lord. Is that in the Bible? And guess what? Ain't nothing any better than being on the same page. Is that all right? And wouldn't it be better if folk in the house were on the same page? And so many folk operate on a different page. Oh, Lord have mercy. This ain't part of the message, but we're going to tell. John Gray, in his book, Men of Tomorrow's Women for Business, he talks about a very interesting point. He says, you know, men think differently than women. And come on out your head. I got a whole lot of you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They do things different. See, women have a problem understanding men, and men have a problem understanding women. See, the problem with this whole scenario is men think about end results. Well, you know, a man is a pointer. You know, he is yes and no, right and wrong. He ain't got no break. He don't have no break because, you know, he ain't emotional. And he missed that part, so I mean, he was asleep, you know. When the Lord came along, so man, that old boy was sleeping. And while he was sleeping, he missed the emotional part. And see, that's one thing that boy missed. I mean, he missed. And that's why, you know, he ain't for no foolishness. I mean, if you're looking at the before. What did they do? Because he wanted to know what happened already. A woman can look at the same picture 10 times and get a totally different story. See, you got to understand. See, women are emotional. When women have feelings. And men, let me help you with something. And you don't speak the same language. There ain't no sense you being messed up about it, because guess what? It's a reality. And guess what? You can be driving from here to Jackson, Mississippi. And she says, baby, how much further do we have to go? And he says, just a little bit down the road. 10 minutes later, she said, how much further do we have to go? He says, did I tell you just a little bit down the road? 20 more miles. Baby, sweetheart, honey poo, I need to know how much further do we have to go in? And he gives that old masculine stare. I told you just a little bit further down, and me and missed the whole scenario. What the woman is trying to tell you, baby, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh Lord. It ain't no sense in you getting mad. Because guess what? You can change women if you want it. All of the same. Let me get out of here. Boy, this thing is getting messed up in here. Good God. And look at these women here. And they couldn't get along. And let me tell you something. And at some point in your life, you got to learn how to get along. Lord have mercy. See, everything ain't gonna be. Let me talk to some of my small children in here. Everything ain't gonna always be your way. You gonna have to learn how to get up. Can I just interject this in? You don't know a person until you live with them. Y'all ain't talking in here now. See, dating is easy. You can pan them up and send them home. Yeah, they ain't easy, but when you live, they might need to see up. Milk spout, but it's all called having the same mind. Lord have mercy. And look what Paul says to them. He says, I entreat thee also, true yoke fellows, help those women which labor with me in the gospel. Is that in your Bible? With Clement and also with other fellow laborers.